Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's webinar with Barry Mitchell of Uncovering Greatness. We're just waiting for the last couple of people to just join us. And welcome on this, as I hear, quite cold, as also the weather tells me, quite cold evening. Just a bit of housekeeping. If you could please ensure that your mics are closed. Barry does definitely welcome questions throughout, and if you could just be aware of your mic, because we are recording this webinar, so should you be missing anything, we will be sending out the link. My name is Marlon August. I'm part of the Uncovering Greatness team, and I'll be calling on Barry very soon. Just for everybody that's coming in, thank Fani, Milkup, could you please ensure that your mics are closed throughout the Margot? Kindly ensure that your mics are closed. So yes, just introduce Barry. Barry's been a sales trainer and working with Blair Singer, who is a Rich Dad advisor, one of the closest friends to Robert Kiyosaki. I don't know if everybody is aware of Robert Kiyosaki is. He is pretty much the foremost thought leader and teacher in creating financial freedom and how to invest and create assets and generate an income and become financially free. And Barry is pretty much what I'd like to consider the go-to guy in Africa when it comes to really understanding how to create a financial freedom within your own life, and understanding where you are and getting you to a point where you'll be able to generate passive income and become financially free. So without any further ado, can I get Barry? Barry, are you there?
I am. Hey,
thank you, Barry. Welcome.
Hey, good evening, everybody. How are you doing?
Also,
so, if I can ask before I get started, please will you mute yourselves?
Absolutely. And of course, we do know that the workpiece, as you say, was unnecessary.
Hello. Hi. Thank you, Simba. Good man. Thank you very much. So, good evening, folks. How are you doing? It's a great to have you on this call, wherever you might be. I personally am sitting in a hotel at Cape Town International Airport. I've spent the last 2 days training here in Cape Town, ran a seminar here, and now on my way back to Joburg early tomorrow morning. So great to be in Cape Town, also great to be on my way back to Joburg. So wherever you are, great to have you here. So tonight's topic is really, what is financial education really? So first question is, I'm going to ask you to type in, what do you think financial education is? What is financial education in your world? If you wouldn't mind interacting with me, giving me a couple of your answers, and it gives me an idea of where you sit, that would be great. Okay, good. Knowledge of money matters. Assets. Good. Anything else? Financial education teaches you how to best grow and preserve your assets. It's excellent. Thank you. Thank you. You guys are fed back. So, yeah, keys to stewarding, growing, and effectively using the tool of cash flow. Understanding your financial position. Excellent. Thank you. So, financial financial education. How many of you learned financial education at school? Anybody? How many of you learned, go to school, get a great education, so you get a great job, so you make lots of money, so you can retire when you're 60 and never have a problem again in your life? How many of you are taught that? How many of you have kids that are still being taught that? So Warwick says, I've heard about that. Depends on how many years you stayed at school, Warwick. But really, is that not what a lot and get a good job and work hard and everything else, everything's going to be okay? Now, for me, I'll clarify right from the beginning. For me, education is the single most important thing. I'm an educationalist. That's what I do. I teach people for a living. Not your traditional teacher, but I am a teacher. I teach business entrepreneurship, sales, and in the last number of years, I've been blessed to do quite a lot of work with Robert Kiyosaki, learn from him, and start teaching a number of his programs. So I teach around financial literacy and teach people how to make money. But teaching people how to do those type of things, what I've learned is I never got taught that at school. What I was taught was that money comes from getting a job, and the harder you work, the more money you make, and the more money you make, the easier life's going to be. How many of you are starting to realize, if you haven't realized already, that maybe the world is changing and changing pretty fast? Yeah. And maybe what we think about money and what we think about making money needs to change as well. If you just examine the world in the last couple of years, there's a new currency, there's a new type of money in the world. And in the way Robert Kiyosaki puts it, he says, essentially in the world now, there's three types of money. There used to be two. Originally, the types of money were fiat currency, what he would term government money, dollar, pound, rand, that type of stuff. And the other type of money he termed God's money, which is gold and silver. It's gold has always been here. Gold and silver has always been here. It comes from the earth. It's the form of exchange that's been around for years and years and years and years. And then now, recently, there's a new type of money, and that's called cryptocurrency. And in Robert's words, he calls it people's money. So, he says there's essentially three types of money: government money, God's money, people's money. And part of becoming financially literate, part of financial literacy, part of financial education really is learning about where does money come from, what is the money that you want to make, how are you going to make money, and if you make money, how does money make money for you? So how many of you have, let me ask you this, how many of you have read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? If you can just type yes in the column, or just put your hand up where in the little box that says raise your hand. How many of you have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Great. 1, 2. Anybody else? How many of you have heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but never read it? How many of you have bought Rich Dad, Poor Dad and never read it? Well, I think I'd owned Rich Dad, Poor Dad maybe for 4 or 5 years, and I never read it. Never when I read it, I've read it a number of times since then. But some of you may know that last year was the 20th anniversary of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I believe that Rich Dad, Poor Dad is as pertinent today as it was 20 years ago. That the teachings that Robert teaches in Rich Dad, Poor Dad are just as applicable in today's market compared to what they were 20 years ago. And I'll encourage those of you that have never read it, do yourself a favor, get the book and read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I truly believe it'll give you an incredible grounding if anything, it'll challenge you or make you challenge yourself on thinking about where does money come from. So when it starts with financial education, and what is financial education? I'm just going to talk about a couple of concepts that I've learned from Robert over the last couple of years, and a number of concepts that we teach in a program that we call Awaken Your Financial Genius. I'll talk about that program later on. But the question is that I want to ask you is, who's going to save you when it comes to money, when it comes to creating wealth? Is anyone going to save you, or is that something that you're going to need to do yourself? Is your financial future your husband, your wife, your boss to do it for you? So the first step in financial education is, are you prepared to learn, study, and understand for yourself? So obsolete advice is go to school, get a job, save money, get out of debt, and invest for the long term in the stock market. We honestly believe that that's obsolete. Those of you that have read any of Kiyosaki's stuff will understand that really is teaching around going to school, getting a great job to make lots of money. That is really obsolete, and for a number of reasons. One and most important reason is that of a concept called Rise of the Robots. And the reason, guys, do me a favor, please, when you come on, if you'll just mute yourself, especially if there's lots of noise in your background, thanks. If I can just ask if you can just mute yourself if you're not muted. Thank you very much. So one of the reasons why things are changing is because we no longer live in the industrial age. We've moved out of the industrial age a long time ago, and now we're living in the robotic age. Now we're living in the information age. Now what we're seeing in this day and age is that robots are taking over, and the creation of cryptocurrency essentially has risen out of nothing and has created. Someone told me today that it's now a $500 billion business. Now I can't be quoted on that. It's just some numbers that were given to me today, and $500 billion that's been created relatively from nothing over the last couple of years. Now, is your understanding around money and making money and creating wealth, is your understanding going to allow you to create wealth going forward? So when it comes to financial education, that I believe is one of the first questions that we should ask ourselves. Is what I know enough to allow me to create the future, the financial future that I need? Or are there things that I don't know that I desperately should be uncovering, learning, and finding out about? So that's the first step in this. The other reason why job security is becoming an obsolete idea is because of globalization. We live in a global village, and as Martin Ford in Rise of the Robots wrote, income inequality has since soared to levels not seen since 1929, and it has become clear that the productivity increases that went into workers' pockets back into the 50s are now being retained almost entirely by business owners and investors. So the question is, where do you want to sit? So your ability to really understand and get to the bottom of what is going to create wealth for you is essential. So a couple of key things that I believe are essential. One, And we teach this in depth in Awaken Your Financial Genius. Savers are losers. Today, savers are losers. Interest rates on savings are at historic lows, especially in first world countries. Interest rates on savings in South Africa aren't particularly high either. So the old teaching of save yourself rich, save yourself wealthy, I don't know about you, but personally, I don't see that working. How much money do you need to save in order to save yourself rich and save yourself wealthy? Just ask you this question. How well are you doing at saving 30 to 40% of your income right now? Anyone managing that? Now, is saving a good thing? Yeah. Saving's probably a great discipline. It's a good thing to become disciplined in managing and utilizing your money. But as Robert teaches, savers are losers. Now, he doesn't mean losers as in the big loser, but the reality is this. You're not going to win if you save. You've got to take your money and you've got to let your money work for you rather than just hoarding your money. So the other thing's this. Yeah, as Margot says, inflation is higher than interest rates. So if inflation is moving higher than the return on your money, how are you going to keep up with that inflation rate? In the US, savings rates are exceptionally low. Second one is this. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I was taught make sure you get a good pension. Well, the more you look around the world, the more you look around South Africa, pensions and pensioners are in trouble. So can you just put your money into a pension, into a retirement annuity, and hope that when you get to the age of 60, 65, everything will be okay? So part of financial education is creating a different understanding about where your money goes. The third one, I've already spoken about it, is the rise of the robots. What are those robots going to do? Where are those robots going to take over? The other thing, if you understand that, where can you benefit from the rise of the robots? So what do you need to do in order to save yourself? Well, I believe the first step is being able to educate yourself in, I suppose, in the way that'll allow you to be able to move into the position that you want to move into. First step is this: begin with the end in mind. What is it that you want? You know, how many of you want to have a different life? How many of you want to make more money? But if I asked you how much, when, and how that is made up, how many of you wouldn't actually be able to answer that question? So, you know, in the years that I've been teaching, in the decade or so that I've been teaching sales, business, and entrepreneurship, one thing I often start off with is this thing about begin with the end in mind. And I start off with people and say, what is it that you want? What do you want in the next 12 months? What do you want in the next 5 years? What do you want in the next 10 years? Generally, my measurement is less than 10% of any one of my rooms actually has any idea, let alone a clear idea of exactly what they want. Often what I get is, I want more money. I want to be happy. I want to be financially free. And when I ask the questions of, that's great, what does more money mean? I often get responses like, well, no one can ever have enough money. I go, really? So what it tells me is that people aren't clear on what more money means. Do you want R1,000,000, 2,000,000 rand, 10,000,000 rand, 200 million rand? Do you understand what money creates? Do you understand how much, if you're earning 50,000 rand a month right now and that's what you need to live on, what does that equate to when it comes to an asset-based income? If you want 50,000 rand a month coming out of an asset, what is the value that asset needs to be? How much money do you have to put away? What asset do you need to purchase? And what return does it need to give you based on the value? You've got to be very clear. So begin with the end in mind. With what you're doing right now, with the activities that you undertake on a day-to-day, on a month-to-month basis with your job, with your business, with wherever you're at? Are you in a position where you're able to generate the type of income that you're going to need in order to be able to invest and create the asset that you need to create? So I'll say it again. Begin with the end in mind. What is your end? What does it look like? So, a task that I could recommend to you is sit down and do out a 10-year timeline. One of my mentors out of network marketing business industry teachers, develop a 10-year timeline. So pretty simply, take a A4 piece of paper, lay it out sideways, hold it like this. I don't know, whatever you call it. The melancholies will know what to tell me, but right now, I think it's portrait. There we go. Portrait, put it out like this. And on one side, at the top, draw a line. There we go. Thank you, Warwick. Landscape. You see, there's always people around that know things that you need to know that you don't know right now. So never be worried about what you don't know. Somebody else always knows it. So look, how many of you, that's just an interesting thing. How many of you are scared about what you don't know and are worried about not knowing enough? There's always somebody that knows something that you need to know if you don't know it. So you take a piece of paper, put it like this in landscape, draw a line right at the top, put two little lines down the side, and on this side, write in today's date or this month's date, June 2018. On this side, write down June 2028. When you extrapolate it from one side to the other, whatever your age is here, my age is 48. In 10 years' time, one thing that's guaranteed, I'll be 58, God willing, I'm still on the earth. Next question is, what else is guaranteed? What do I want? And if I have no idea what I want, how do I know what I need to work for? So one of the first parts in financial education is starting to get clear on what is it that you want. What is the end goal? What is the big game? What is the big picture? When you understand what the big picture is, it allows you to step back and say, what do I need to do now? Where do I sit right now? Okay, so first step, begin with the end in mind. I'm going to encourage you, if you don't have a 10-year timeline, sit down, draw out a 10-year timeline. What do you want in the next 12 months, next 5 years, next 10 years? What does it look like? How old will you be? How much money you're going to make? Where's that money going to come from? Is it going to be passive income? Is it going to be active income? What type of house do you want to live in? Where do you want to have a house? Do you want to live in multiple places? Where do you want to go on holiday? So part of it is setting goals and starting to dream. But on a financial picture, is starting to get an understanding of what does that money mean? What does that wealth mean in your life? And when you put it down, whatever that is, it allows you to start working backwards. So Sheldon says, is understanding the big picture not part of the beginning of setting a goal? 100%, Sheldon. When you understand the big picture, you start setting goals, start setting visions and big picture goals. So if your 10-year timeline is, I don't know, in my 10-year timeline, I want to own a home in Joburg, a home in Durban, and one home in Canada, on Victoria Island. I have a very clear amount of money that I need to amass in terms of asset wealth. I have a very clear amount of money that I want to be generating in terms of what those assets must be generating. I'm very clear on what that end goal is, and I take it back. I know what I've got to be doing week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, in order to start building to that picture. And so first step, begin with the end in mind. It allows you to start dreaming, start creating a vision for your future. Does that make sense? So I'd encourage you, spend some time. Take time to start identifying what is it that you want. Okay. So the second thing is this: wealth creation is time-based. It takes time. It takes time to create wealth. It's such tomorrow. The question is, generate that money, they won't have that money anymore. So how do you become rich? Pretty simple. You learn how to sell. You sell a lot of things. you make a lot of money. And you can then you can have a lot of money. The question is having a lot of money right now, is that really creating wealth? Or is wealth creation difference between earning money and having money earn money for you? So I know a lot of people that generate a lot of money, but they have money for their people who don't generate a lot of money every day. The money that they generate, they use wisely, they understand investment, they've educated themselves. That money is starting to generate more and more money. So be prepared to take some time, have some patience. First step is educate yourself. So once you know, begin with the end in mind, start creating the right education, and be prepared to walk the journey. It is a journey. It is a process. It's a process of time, and when the timing is right, it will start delivering the goods that you require. So I just believe that too many people are too impatient, especially in this world of instant gratification. And creating wealth and building wealth is a time-based process. The other reason it's also time-based is because the real time base is in developing your mind, is in not in creating what you want to have. So there's a concept that's taught called be, do, have. Many people say, when I have a lot of money, then I'll be wealthy. Then I can do what wealthy people do. Then I'll be happy. Well, I don't know about you, but what I really believe is that, and what I've observed and what I've learned from the likes of Blair Singer, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Advisors, is that the most important thing that they've worked on right in the beginning was their be. Who do they need to be in order to understand what it takes to do what you need to do in order to have what it takes to have being wealthy? And when you change your being, when you change your mindset, when you change what's in here, how you think, how you operate, how you act, it allows you to do the things that you need to do to create wealth. How many of you have ever known people or met people that overnight created a lot of money? However, maybe they got a big bonus at work, maybe they sold a business, maybe they won the lotto, whatever it is. But they went from not having a lot of money to having a huge amount of money. How many of those people maintained that money over 5 to 10 years later? In my experience, many of those people lost all that money. Why? Because it's not about the having, it's about the being. Their being didn't allow them to be able to have the money that they had. It's like fame. People that rise to fame too fast, unless they have the mindset to be able to hold on to it, unless they have the mindset that allows them to be able to know what to do with fame. What often happens, they come crashing down because their being doesn't allow them to be able to do what's needed to be done in order to have it. So, I say to people, don't wish that your wealth comes too fast. Wish that your mindset changes enough so you have the capacity to be able to manage, work with, and grow what you're ultimately given. So yeah, what are you doing? Financial education is more about what are you doing to grow your mind, and it is about what are you doing to have what you want to have. Because when your mind grows, everything else flows with it. Is this making sense? Yeah. Just let me know. One of the things that's important to me. Are you guys getting some value out of this? Yeah. So, okay, great. So, Bonnie says, there's a lot of youngsters that become multimillionaires by investing in the latest technology. Yeah. So they invest in the latest technology. The question is, they become multimillionaires within what suddenly comes in. The question I'm going to be asking is, what are they going to use that money for? And I watch this. I look on Facebook and I watch these people posting. And the first thing they start posting is, look, I've made money and they have a new Ferrari and a new house. That's great. The question is, when those new technologies stop, if they stop, if something happens to that source of income, what happens to the Ferrari, the car, and everything else? Because that person suddenly thinks that to have money is to have all these things, which is fine as long as the source of the cash flow keeps coming. But many people, what they do is they make some money and they go throw it into a whole lot of content, a whole lot of stuff, and they don't have the money that backs it up to keep that lifestyle going. And when that money's gone, it's gone. So the other thing around this is around creating wealth. Is what are you prepared to invest in you? Because, you know, in the time that I've been able to spend around the Rich Dad Advisors, the one thing I've learned about all of them is the first and most important person they invest in is they invest in themselves and their own education. They invest in how they change how they think. You know, so I think if I find it here, Warren Buffett talked about education and what is it that you need to do to educate yourself. And you know, Robert has this joke. He says, you know, Warren Buffett doesn't have his degrees up on his wall. He has a certificate. One of the prime certificates he has on his wall is a certificate from the Dale Carnegie Institute of Sales, because you know, he says selling and people skills are the most important thing he ever learned, because he learned how to stop making money and he learned how to use that money to make more money. But advice from Warren Buffett, who is one of the world's richest men and arguably one of the world's smartest investors. He has this to say about where you get your education and particularly about where you get advice from. He says it's this around taking advice from financial advisors. He says Wall Street is the only place that people ride to in a Rolls Royce to get advice from those who arrive there on the subway. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad says this. He says the reason middle class struggle financially is because they take advice from salespeople, not from rich people. How many of you are learning and taking advice from people that are selling you something that are not financially savvy and are not educating themselves financially themselves? If you're not taking advice and learning from the people that are financially free, then what's going to happen? How many of you have just had a little bit of an aha on that learning? See, I see too many people learning from people who they think know about money, or people who they observe who they think have lots of money because of what they drive and what they wear, and they want to take advice from them. Are you really sure that those people understand what it is to create wealth, not what it is to make money, but what it is to create wealth, what it is to become financially astute and financially free? So there's an old saying that goes like this: it's easier to act rich than it is to be rich, because being rich takes time. Acting rich you can do tomorrow. You can go buy a nice car, nice suit, and wander around and pretend that you have lots of money. That's a lot easier than learning how to be rich, because being rich is changing the way you think. That, folks, really is what financial education really is changing your mindset to understand how the rich think, why the rich get richer, what is it that they do, how do they think, what allows them to think the way they think in order to create the wealth that they create. You see, I've just learned this. I know what I know and I don't know what I don't know. What I know has got me to where I am and got me into the situation that I'm in. What I don't know is what will really get me to where I need to go. But if I keep getting stuck on what I think I know in all areas of my life, not only financially, but if I keep getting stuck on what I think I know, I'll be stuck where I am and keep creating the same result. Sheldon says, it's not that they create the illusion of wealth. Yeah. So, Sheldon, is it that they create the illusion of wealth, or is it that at times we do not know enough and we're stuck in what we think we know that allows them to elude us, believe they have wealth? Who are you surrounding yourself with? How do they think? And what is it that you need to learn in order to be able to create wealth? So Robert tells this story. He says, man versus monkey. Years ago, there was a contest between a monkey and professional stock pickers. The monkey picked stocks by throwing darts at a dartboard, names of companies as targets. Stock pickers used their education, training, and intellectual skills to analyze company values before choosing stock. Guess who won? The monkey. So, where are you putting your money? Who are you putting your money with? Are you putting your money with your own education? Are you taking the time to learn? Or are you putting with money with somebody who's selling you on a reason why they need your money? You see, like Kiyosaki says, if you don't know what to do with your money, believe me, somebody else does. So real financial education is, do you know what to do with your own money? And how do you find out? And how do you learn? Well, the start is put yourself in an environment where you start learning with and around people to really understand what it is to start creating wealth, making money, and setting themselves and yourself up for financial future. You know, at the end of the day, when it comes down to financial education, it probably comes down to this, the 90-10 rule of money. There's a rule of money known as the 90-10 rule. That rule states 10% of the people earn 90% of the money. 10% of the people earn 90% of the money. Where do you want to be? You want to be on the side of the 10%? You want to be on the side of the 90%? At the end of the day, the choice is yours, as long as you are prepared to learn, study, investigate, and understand. You see, it's a challenge that I think many of us face, but it's a challenge that you need to decide on. And it's based on this. Do you have the spirit, the being? Do you have the determination? And do you have the drive to gain real financial education? Real financial education that will allow you to be able to move from the 90% to the 10%. And like Kiyosaki says, if you're a quitter, if you don't want to work hard, if you're not willing to study, I'm not talking about studying a degree in finance. I'm not talking about getting an MBA. I'm not talking about going to university. I'm talking about studying and learning from people that have already created wealth. Understanding, studying your mind, changing the way you think, shifting your mindset, to take your mindset from a mind of whatever it might be to a mind of creating wealth. That mindset of being, when you shift your being, you study and change your being, you learn how to be able to do the doing. And when you can do the doing, you can have the having. Most people just want to have the having, and they're not prepared to do the doing and be the being, because that's the hard part. Most people want pleasing results. They want to have pleasing results, but they want it as long as it's easy. In life, in creating wealth, in becoming financially free, there are methods. Those methods are whatever those methods are. And you need to be prepared to learn, understand, equip yourself to be able to apply those methods. Some of them are not hard. Many of them are pretty simple, but they're hard. Simple, not easy. Simple and hard. Hard and simple are two different things. So what part of the rule of money do you want? Do you want the 90 or do you want the 10? So Fire away any questions if you have, please, before we finish off. So let me look at some of the ones that have come up here. So, yeah, Tamarin, surround yourself with successful people, learn what they do, and do that 100%. Very good advice. And I think it was Jim Rohn who said, go and take stock of the 5 closest people that you hang out with, work out how much money you think each one of them earns, and there's a pretty good chance that you will be in the average of all 5. So if you hang around with people that are poor-minded, you'll become poor-minded. You hang around with lots of middle-class people, you'll become middle-class. You start hanging around with rich and wealthy people, you'll become rich and wealthy. If you start hanging around with thieves and crooks, you become a thief and a crook. Who do you surround yourself with? Are you clear of who you surround yourself with? Are you making a choice of who you surround yourself with? Where are you getting your advice and your education from? Are you getting your advice and your education from your broke brother-in-law? Or are you getting your advice and your education from someone that knows what they're talking about, from someone that is walking the journey, from someone that has walked the journey, from someone that is doing those type of things? So who are you surrounding yourself with? Sheldon says, I believe it's our ignorance of thinking we know what we know and close ourselves off to learnings. Sheldon, I couldn't agree with you more, mate. Yeah, that thing of being stuck in what we know, that's a product of school, is you get rewarded for how much you know. So the more I've just learned as an entrepreneur, I've just learned to my journey to growth and try to develop myself. And it's not what I know that's going to get me forward. It's what I don't know. And are you open to uncover what you don't know? See, the thing that we teach in Awaken Your Financial Genius, it's called standing on the edge of the coin, on the other side of the coin. You see, intelligence is found on the edge of the coin. It's found on the ability to see both sides. Most people that get stuck in what they know can only see one side. They only see one side. When you can only see one side, you get stuck. So what sides do you understand? What sides of tax do you understand? What sides of saving do you understand? What sides of debt do you understand? Do you understand the side of the rich, or do you understand the side of the poor and the middle class? Which one would you like to understand? Were you ever taught the one that you want to understand? But you need to let go and stand on the edge, to be open enough to identify what is it that you need to understand? What is it that you need to know that you don't know? So Fani says, putting my money on developing my financial IQ and surround me with like-minded people. Well, Fani, the word financial IQ is a very interesting word. So there's a difference between financial literacy and financial IQ. And financial literacy is the ability to understand reading and writing numbers. So what is your ability? What is your literacy when it comes to reading and writing and understanding financial statements, financial documents? Financial IQ, financial intelligence is a little bit different. Financial intelligence is your ability to overcome money problems. So the lower your financial intelligence, the lower the money problem you can overcome. The higher your level of financial intelligence, the bigger the money problem you can overcome. It's a little bit different to normal IQ, which is all about how much information and stuff you have in your head. This is about what problem can you overcome when it comes to money. Now, in America, the stat is about 50% of Americans can't get out of a $500 US problem. They can't write a check if they need to raise $500. Now it has the guess that South Africa is pretty similar to something like that. How many of you know people that could never get out of a 5,000 Rand problem? How many of you on this call, don't put up your hand, just ask yourself, what is the biggest amount of money problem that I can overcome? That is the level of your financial IQ. The more money you want to make, the bigger the money problem you need to learn how to overcome. That is expanding your being, expanding your mind. That, folks, is what we believe real financial education is really about. Is changing the way you think, changing your being, changing your mind, looking at it from a different perspective, learning the other side of the coin, being prepared to study walk a journey, create awareness. Once you have that awareness, apply it and create the results that you want to create in your life. Any other questions, folks? Questions or comments? So I just want to let you know that in the next couple of weeks, my team and I are going to be running a series of events called Awaken Your Financial Genius. I'm really excited that Robert Kiyosaki is coming out to South Africa and do an event with Success Resources called the Investor Summit, Business and Investor Summit. It'll be a great event, and yeah, I would encourage you to go along and listen to him speak at that. We're really excited. My team and I are really excited because he also, when he's out, I've been able to get him to do an exclusive event for us for some of our team members and some of our students that are on Awaken Your Financial Genius. So that's something that would interest you if you would like to know how to be able to get into a very small exclusive event with Robert for probably less than about 80 or 100 people for 7 or 8 hours. Then let us know if you'd like to know how to do that. And yeah, Milka asked us, how do I make money work for me? Milka, making money work for you, it comes from expanding your level of financial intelligence. So understanding why the rich make money, how the rich make money, how the rich build assets, and how the rich make money work for you. So, I'll continue answering some of those questions, Milka, over the next couple of weeks on these webinars on Tuesday nights. But if you really want to get some of those answers or more of those answers, on the 20th and 23rd of June, we are hosting 2 events called the Awaken Your Financial Genius Intro event. If you look on the in your chat box, there's a link to click it, and that program is called Awaken Your Financial Genius. It's a 3.5 hour program, and it's probably at the Bedford View at the Nickel Hotel in Bedford View. It's either a Wednesday evening or Saturday morning. So it's 395 Rand per person, or 1,495 Rand for a table of 5, which is less than 300 Rand. Come along and join us for a couple of hours, and really what we'll do is we'll take you through the key principles of how to awaken your financial genius, of how to really start uncovering financial education and finding out what that financial education really is. It's an introductory program where I will take you through some of Robert Kiyosaki's teaching. You'll learn directly from Robert and Kim Kiyosaki over that, and I facilitate during 3.5 hours. I facilitate their teaching, take you through a process. We play the game called Cash Flow 101. We learn from other people around that, and I'll take you through a process. So really, it's giving you the ability to start uncovering and becoming aware of some of the options that you have going forward. And I'll also introduce you to a program that we run called Awaken Your Financial Genius, which is a 10-week program. And the next program that we start starts in August, just after Robert has come out here. And part of that program is getting to spend an evening with Robert and learning directly from him. So any other questions? If you're interested in the program, what I would suggest is go onto the links that you can see, put in your link, book your seat, and what I do know is that you'll get a lot of value out of the 3.5 hours. And there's a couple of people on the call like Fani who are currently on the Awaken Your Financial Genius program, And I know for Fani, that program has made a significant difference in the way he thinks around making money, creating wealth, and moving into a whole new dimension. So if if I can ask, did you get value from tonight's call? Did you enjoy the call? If you can just type quickly yes or just value in the thank you, Fani, for your feedback. Awaken Your Financial Genius. He's enjoying it. It's an awesome program. But if you wouldn't mind just typing in, did you get value? Did you get value out of tonight? And then the other thing is, if you would you just show us, would you be interested in joining us on the 20th or the 23rd for 3.5 hours to really uncover a little bit more around what it takes to be financially free, what it takes to really develop your financial education and go from there. Cool. So, folks, I just want to thank you. Thank you for being on this call. We'll we have these on a Tuesday evening. Those of you that might be interested, we have I run a sales webinar from 7 o'clock until 7:45 on a Tuesday evening, and then follow it up with a financial literacy call from 8:15 until 9 o'clock. So I just want to thank you for being on this, and those of you that are interested in the Awaken Your Financial Genius, my team will send you an email. But if you'd like, go onto the link, book your seat or book a table, bring some other people along, and I really guarantee you that you'll get a lot of value out of it, and go from there. So thank you for coming on. The next program, or more than likely, the Awaken Your Financial Genius program, will be in Bedford View at the Nickel Hotel. So looking forward to see you there. So be blessed. Have a great evening. And no one's going to come and save you. You need to save yourself. But saving starts with changing your being and changing your education. So have a great evening. Chat to you guys soon. Thank you, Marlon and the team, for hosting us tonight. And we'll see you guys soon. If not on the 20th and the 23rd, we'll see you on the next webinar. Cheers.